Hi everyone, my name is Rob Paulazzo. I'm a Naked Wines winemaker. I've been producing wines for Naked Wines for just over 10 years now. I'm based in southern New South Wales from the sunny Riverina region, but I also source fruit from the Riverina, Hilltops, Tumbarumba and Canberra district. I've been fortunate enough to work with fruit from these regions for the bulk of my career. So cool climate wine and cool climate regions. I know that's something that you probably hear a lot of, and what does it mean in regards to Australia? Because we are by nature a warm country. But I guess relating it to New South Wales wines, one of the great things about New South Wales as a wine producing state is there's no state in this country that has the breadth of regions that we have in New South Wales. So we have a region that's essentially not cool climate, but probably cold climate like Tumbarumba, where it's situated on the foothills of the Snowy Mountains, super cold climate, an alpine climate, which is super high altitude. And then we can also go as far inland as the Riverina, where I'm based, and that's a more Mediterranean style, continental, warmer climate region, and there's everything in between in New South Wales. So cool climate wines are essentially from regions which tend to be a touch cooler in their temperatures. They can have warm days so we do get that ripening, but obviously cooler regions or cooler temperatures at night in order to maintain lovely acidity. But in certain regions like Tumbarumba, there's snow during the winter and things like that. So and I guess from a wine perspective, what that does is it creates a style of wine which is more elegant, medium-bodied, and I guess more expressive rather than being super fruit-forward and just big and luscious like you would get from a warmer region. Well, the major difference is probably between the warmer climate, bigger-bodied reds and the cooler climate reds is probably just with regards to their structure and like you said, body. So in the cooler climates, you tend to get more medium-bodied reds, and those fruit flavors tend to be very expressive, and there tends to be a little bit more higher acid. Tannins seem to be, there seems to be a little bit more structure in those wines as well. And it's just more, cooler climate wines tend to be more about sort of elegance, complexity, rather than just being essentially raw power and body, I guess. I'm fortunate enough to source from 3 premier cool climate regions in southern New South Wales. So the first one being Tumbarumba, and that's high altitude, super cool alpine climate, and that's perfect for varietals such as Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, and that's what I source from there. The region also produces really lovely sparkling. Then we move, to Canberra district, where is known for producing cool climate Syrah, Shiraz, and also Riesling. So I'm very fortunate to source a very beautiful parcel of Shiraz, which I make in a Syrah style from Canberra. And then we move a little further to the Hilltops, which is just slightly northwest of Canberra and just sits on the Great Dividing Range, which, although relatively close in terms of our state, so it's only an hour or so away, but they're very different regions where it is a little touch warmer in those areas, but it produces really lovely Shiraz and also Cabernet. And I think in the Hilltops, Cabernet is certainly one of the premier varietals, and I think there's I'd happily argue that there's not a lot of better places in Australia to produce Cabernet than the Hilltops. I'm sort of hanging on to this very tightly. So cool climate Chardonnay, I absolutely adore, and I love Tumbarumba as a region and the style of Chardonnay that it produces. So I guess a lot of the principles I spoke about earlier, comparing cool climate reds and warmer climate reds, can also be adapted to whites and Chardonnay as well. So when you look at a warmer climate Chardonnay, for instance, its characteristics probably would be more about fruit intensity, a bigger, softer, simpler palate, very forward and very, very drink now and very approachable and that kind of thing, which is great. And then if you go to a cool climate region such as Tumbarumba, the difference again is around things like acidity, structure, complexity, almost that sort of that restraint You know, and I think that's an important word. You can even use that for the reds as well, where it's not so much in your face, it's more sort of like the closer you look, the more it shows you. And I think with somewhere like Tumbarumba with regards to Chardonnay and whites, the natural acidity is certainly what sets, Chardonnay in this region apart from warmer climate regions. And also in Tumbarumba there is this, what I like to call a slaty minerality to this wine, which I think is certainly synonymous with the area and a trait of cool climate Chardonnay as well. So I think that essentially it is about restraint, it's about elegance, and it's about complexity. If people have been reluctant to try Chardonnay because of perhaps perceptions they had of what, they were like back in the day or whatever, the reaction I always get when I pour someone a glass of this is like, wow, I didn't think this is what it would be like. And it's exactly right. It's like, it's about that fruit intensity, that pristine fruit intensity and elegance, and then there's the complexity, and then there's the structure, and all these little parts of cool climate Chardonnay that are so far away from the big, overripe, over-oaked, overworked Chardonnays of way back in the day. So yes, there's certainly the shift of Australian Chardonnay to cooler climates and that more restrained style and that sort of thing has certainly put Australian Chardonnay on the world map. I think stylistically the style of wine that the regions produce are bang on the mark with what people want to drink at the moment. So, cool climate, elegant Chardonnay and Pinot Noir from Tumba, medium-bodied, elegant, complex reds from Hilltops and also Canberra. And I think that's what people are after. They're just beautiful regions and they produce beautiful wines, and I think that's quite simply why people are after them. And I'm glad that they've become super popular, because I'm a big advocate of being local, and I'm glad that sommeliers around certainly Sydney and in other cities as well are really getting behind these now.